Okay, we're recording.
All right.
I think this was it. We were last time.
Yeah.
We good to go?
Good to go. Let's do
Let's
this.
go, brother. Okay, so we're live. Welcome back to the Magic Minds podcast. I'm Matt Burke. You're watching and listening to the Liberties #1 podcast. Yup, the Liberties. Yup, the Flats. On the show today, I'm joined by Tim Davis. Tim, what's the crack?
It is you, baby. It's you.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what it is. So where's this crack word come from? Where's that from?
It's not from the streets.
Okay, it's not.
It's from Ireland.
Not like little yellow rocks that were, no, okay, perfect.
Not
perfect.
today, not in this spiritual setting. There'll be none of that
Beautiful.
carry on. Nothing that's in no setting. Don't do drugs, kids. Only use hugs.
What he says, that's right.
Crack, just CAIG or IC. It just means having fun. In Ireland, just means having fun, enjoying yourself. What's the crack? It's a lovely greeting. It's a soft greeting. What's the crack?
Nice.
You know.
Nice.
So, guys, I've asked Tim to come on the show. Tim is he's a spiritual teacher, spiritual leader. I'm here in Gainesville. I'm actually in Alachua.
Alachua.
Alachua. There's my pronunciations. I'm in Alachua here in Florida. We're at the Temple of the Universe property.
Yeah, that's right. This is one of the houses that actually Mickey built if you read the Surrender Experiment, he talks about having a building company called Built with Love, and this is one of the last houses that he built.
So, guys, I've come here. I'm nearly 8 days here. I've spent most of the 8 days, every day of the 8 days here, and it's an incredible, beautiful space. If you're not familiar with Mickey Singer, who wrote The Untethered Soul, Living the Untethered Life, The Surrender Experiment, and many, many more, he's created this. And Tim works there. He volunteers there, works there, does his own work, which we're going to talk about. Singer, musician, in the Temple Universe. I've heard him singing the Sri Atma Gita.
Yeah.
He has some songs on YouTube. And I just want to spend time with people like Tim because they inspire me in service of love. That's why I'm here. So we're going to cover that today. So I'm super excited.
Me too. It's nice to meet you, Matt.
Oh, it's incredible.
I got to say one thing,
Yeah.
my family heritage is from Ireland. My parents never traveled; they never went anywhere. So, but when they traveled, they went to Ireland, right? So this is like old homecoming for me, for getting to spend time with you.
Yes. And again, as I said to Tim a couple of minutes ago, I'm not blowing smoke up his hole. People in Gainesville have been so kind, so soft. It's a lovely place to be. Is that because the Temple of the Universe? I don't know. Is it because just Gainesville is like that?
There's a university here, so there's a lot of people who are really working on themselves, educating themselves. There's a lot of healthcare here. There's hospitals. I don't know, man, but it is. There's a really sweet vibe here. I love Gainesville. I was actually born here. I grew up in Vermont, which is the northern part of the United States, but I was born here. My parents lived here for a little while, and I love Gainesville. I love it.
I was actually in town yesterday. I was at the Oak Mall, and there was kids in there working behind the counter in the shop, and they had got Patrick's Day. Yesterday was Paddy's Day.
Yeah, that's right.
And people had chains on them. They were celebrating Paddy's Day. People around here in Turkey Creek, they were staying. They've got decorations out. Everyone's celebrating Paddy's Day yesterday. I was like, wow.
Yeah,
In
that's right.
Gainesville, incredible.
Yep. Everybody loves St. Patrick's Day. I didn't celebrate this year. I've been kind of keeping a low profile, doing my thing. But,
Yeah, I don't. So I'll leave that
yeah.
to the other Irish. I don't drink and take
Yeah.
part in that stuff anymore. But good luck if that's what you do. I'm out here meditating and praying for y'all.
Yeah.
So look, let's get into it. What do you do here? What's your work here? What do you do?
So I volunteer.
Yeah.
My wife and I first came here about 30 years ago, back in 1991, and we just saw this beautiful community. So we started helping. That's how you kind of get in here, is you just start helping. So we did. I think it was like Thanksgiving or something. So we it's a potluck. So we made some food, and then we just started coming. And at some point, they needed somebody to run the audio system, and I'm really good with all the AV kind of stuff. I love stereos, and I love working with wiring systems, and we've got a whole mixing board. So I started helping with that, and I like to sing. So I just pretty much do anything I can to help. I run the audio system. I kind of do a little bit of crowd control just to get everybody in the temple and settle, because we have a lot of people coming these days. It's very crowded. Don't come to the temple. It's too crowded.
I seen you shepherding yesterday, if you want to call it. You're like a shepherd organising people around.
Yeah,
It was good.
So I run the audio system, and I really just try to keep things moving as smoothly as I can.
Yeah. why do you do it? What's the draw for you here? What brought you here? Just to paint people a picture.
So the why that I do it, and go back to the other question. The why I do it is because I really love the idea that there's this community where people can come and get teaching, right? And so Mickey is just, I don't know, I feel like, so I came here 30 years ago, like I said, and there's this guy out in the woods just talking, right, teaching, and like nobody recognized his brilliance fully back then, right? Now he's been on Oprah. Now he's been, all over the place. He's got 3 New York Times bestsellers. Everybody sees his genius. But for that whole time, we were coming and just like kind of grooving on it. Just like, wow, we get all this. Like people weren't coming from all over the world back then. And essentially the why is he's really good at talking. He's really good at laying out practical spiritual teachings. So I wanted to help. That's why, like if I can make it so that he walks in the room and he's got nothing to think about but what's coming from his heart and talking, then I've done my job, right? And a while back, I read this book by Malcolm Gladwell that talks about the 10,000 hour rule. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah. If you
So
want to be
I love
professional,
that book, right? And at different points, I've been an athlete, I've been like a photographer, and I've done all these things in life. And I was thinking, like, what if I had taken my life and devoted that 10,000 hours? Like, could I have been a musician? Could I have been this and that? And I thought this through, and one day, and I just said, I think I would just do spiritual development. Then what hit me was, that's exactly what I was doing. Here at the temple, we every morning at 6:30 we come and we do the Shriyat Megiddo. Look it up; it's really cool. And every evening at about 8 o'clock we come and we do a program. And so there's 3 to 4 hours a day that we actually spend in satsang, in spiritual communion, and it just kept building me up and kind of it provided me a discipline that I would not normally have. This is not a disciplined person sitting in front of you now.
Yeah.
But I was motivated enough by that, and I calculated somewhere around 40,000 hours of just like sitting in the temple and meditating and studying and working on this stuff. And it really changed my life. And that's why, because I want to share that. I want people to have a chance to really get Mickey, to really get the juice of what he's talking about. Right?
Yeah. When you said you change, you just said there, I change. What's the noticeable changes for you? When you say change, what do you mean by that for you?
Well, so when I first started coming here, I don't feel like I was a person who was sort of like bred for success, so to speak. Like in some families, there's this like expectation that you're going to go to like some really big time school and you're going to
You were just
excel.
rolling with it.
And like, my parents are amazing and loving. They're passed now. And my mom, she was a saint. Like she just like the golden rule is her thing. So beautiful. But there wasn't that sense of how to get along in like a world different. Vermont is very closed. It's very country, small. But out here, like universities and bigger towns, there's a lot going on. And I didn't know how to handle myself. I didn't know how to conduct myself. So in that realm of trying to do well, so in this case, it was photojournalism. I got a degree at the University of Florida with journalism, specializing in photography. Now I'm going to work every day. And right when I was just starting that job is when I found the temple. And I would go to work, and I would feel incredibly defensive about holding up my pictures and showing what I did. And it was just not a good look. It made it really hard. I was just spending so much energy, so stressed out by even the most simple, basic things.
Okay.
So just to get started was some sense that I was okay just as I was, and I didn't have to fight so hard for validation. That validation comes from inside, and I just go be myself. And if somebody has some critique for my picture, I can fucking handle it. Like I can just sit there,
Yes.
and I can breathe, and I can relax, and I can take in what I need to take in. I can set aside without arguing what I need to set aside. And it just created a whole new dynamic for dealing in complex situations and complex people, and for sifting and sorting through all the things that happen in life in a more productive way. So there's that, right? There's just the basic.
That's beautiful.
Like one of the things I really, in my work now, I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I see about the business world or the professional work world is that when you really commit to a profession, a lot of people are able to to commit to work in a way that they can't commit to spirituality right at first, right?
Yeah.
But to be really successful in the world of business, you really have to be ready to leave your ego behind. You know, like you can't hold you. Very few people in the business world go through their entire path of a product or a belief or a service without having some major input from their clients, from their customers, from the world at large. And they learn how to let go of their ego just because of the fire that they go through. And that's what I went through, like just that kind of fire, that kind of feeling that it's in here, but I don't know how to get it out. And the temple and the teachings help me to relax and let it out.
Yeah. Would it be okay if we get into specifics of that? What do you think was the most beneficial for you? Was it the discipline? Was it turning up? Was it consistency? Was it
You know what it
was
was?
it love? What was it?
It was awareness. So, like, the first thing that got me was watching my mind work, Matt.
Yeah.
Like, my mind was a fucking mess. It was like just so filled with self abuse and self hatred and just like,
Internal assassin.
yeah,
Yeah,
like just calling,
fucker.
like one. So that when I first started coming to the temple, I
Yeah.
started to watch my own thoughts.
Right.
Like, it's like, parent, like, when you go into a house, you see a parent and child, and like you see the dynamic that's happening there. Well, I was my own parent, and I was a shitty parent. I was so terrible. I was like, fuck, oh, you're a fucking waste. You're blah, 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 blah. I just like,
You can't even meditate right. Look at you, your mind is drifting off. You're shit at this.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, what I learned was that was incredibly natural. That's just what happens. That's what people do with their minds. But I learned how to breathe and relax. And here's what happened. I'm sitting in a meeting. So I got I worked hard and I got a promotion, which is really cool. Like I actually, and I give all the credit to this work that I've done for getting that promotion. So now I'm in charge of the photographers. I'm the photo editor at the Gainesville Sun. It's a really good newspaper. It was owned by the New York Times at that time in life. And we really had really high standards, a good photojournalism newspaper. And my job was to go into news meetings, right? And this is back in the 90s when newspapers were, more of a thing, if you will. And I want to get the photos that my team has shot to run well in the newspaper. That, like, your photographers go out, right, and they shoot their ass off all day, and if they don't like it when it runs tiny, they want it to run like the full width of the newspaper. They want their best pictures out there to make our newspaper look great, right? So I'm sitting in this meeting, and like they're going around, and the features editor and the sports editor, and it's coming to me, and I'm just watching myself, and I'm noticing my foot, Matt, and my foot is just cramping up because I'm so filled with fear, and my mind's just spinning, and it's like all this defensive shit is going on in my head. So when you talk about like specifics, the specific was I saw my foot just telling me I'm tense, I'm stressed. And I started using that as my reminder to breathe and relax. And it didn't cure any of that, right? It didn't cure the whole thing, but it just gave me a little better starting point. So the first specific thing was I started to become really aware of what I'm doing. Noticing this happening in here, noticing physiologically what I'm doing. I'm cramping my hands, I'm cramping my feet. And I just take a breath. And just slow down, so that I could say, here's what we have for pictures today. Steve Morton shot this beautiful blah, blah, blah. John Moran shot this beautiful picture of the swamp and and what it did in the moment was help me to be a good listener instead of just blah, just like puking words and trying to get these things sold, right? Just let the pictures do the talking and just relax and breathe. And that lesson has been incredibly important for my whole life, just to learn how to be in the moment enough to actually hear when I'm listening.
Right. Brilliant. So I think Mickey talks about this in the three laws of the universe. This is the laboratory of life, the laboratory of life. You're applying it. This is where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
It sure
Taking
is.
it from the ashram, the temple, the church, the synagogue, and bringing it and using it in your everyday life. People always say, what's the benefits of meditation or the spiritual practice? It's that.
Yeah.
Is that when you're in an office and you're clenching up and you're like, fuck, I hope this goes well, and you're fucking, and you don't even notice.
Yeah.
And you've
Yeah.
been doing that on the fight, flight, freeze for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, sometimes
Yeah.
8 years for people, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing. I remember when I first heard Mickey say that in the temple, that life is God made visible. Life is God made visible. So that helped me to want to listen, to be more open, to relax and just let life happen, and me to learn from it without being defensive, without being protective. Just to watch, learn, and listen, to the lessons that life was actually giving me every moment of every day.
Yeah, it helps you deal with your own shit, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah, because it goes back to what are you doing with your own mind? How are you treating yourself and your thoughts? And once you kind of start to watch that happen, and you see life happen, and you build in a little response, right? A little space for response, so you're not just reacting to all the things that life does and all these things that happen, but you're breathing,
There's a gap
relaxing.
between stimulus and action,
Yeah,
and in that you've got a choice, right?
yeah, that's the what's his name? Oh gosh, we'll have to look it up after we get done. But it's a beautiful quote. It's a great
I
quote.
don't know who I got that off. I've many quotes. I just
Yeah,
pulled them
yeah,
out here, but they're definitely not mine, by the way. But it's a good one, isn't it? And that's what this practice does, is it gives you that ability to create the space.
yeah, yeah.
We don't just roll from one thought to another when we catch it.
And the other thing that happens is when all those thoughts are rolling by, it's like you're not focused, right? You're thinking fearful thoughts. You're thinking, when do I get out? You're thinking, I want to go see this girl after work. Just all this stuff is happening, and it's your focus and your concentration like all over the place. And when through meditation, relaxation, trying to work with yourself, you realize where your thoughts and concentration is going. You can now start to get the ability to really focus it down into like a single point. So when it's time to write, you know how hard it is to write or create any kind of media art. If you're distracted, you're using such a small part of your connection with the infinite, right? You really write well, you're connecting with the whole world and connecting with the infinite. There's this entire thing that's going on, but you have to let it. You have to kind of relax into that. And so that helped too, just being able to be focused on bring all my concentration to one place.
Wow, that's incredible. What I've learned over the last 8 days that I've been here is about showing up. It's about doing the work, but not espousing to say that you do the work. Like, you're either devoted or you're not. And that's like the work that Mickey does. If you've read any of the Surrender Experiment, any of his book, like, he is a Trojan for working. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
no,
and then I see the way people serve around here, so selfless, so selfless.
yeah, yeah.
Is that something that you can attribute here as well?
I'm going to say that Mickey has always put that example out, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because so, like I said, it's not an easy schedule because we would show up at 6:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
do the Shriat Megiddo, be done around 7:30, and then for most of our time here, everybody who was a part of this community went off to work, like real jobs, like hard jobs, and we'd work all day, do the thing, like whatever we had to do, and then boom, come back at night, and around 8 o'clock we gather again and have a program of some kind, whether it's meditation, chanting. Three times a week, Mickey gives a talk, but we'd all come back together again. And at the holidays, we'd all serve. At Thanksgiving, we've had up to 500 people come out for a potluck Thanksgiving.
Wow.
We do Passover Seder, we do the Christmas things, we do New Year's Eve. And everybody just works their asses off, Matt. It's like we really want to create something beautiful. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, Mickey leads by example. He's a hard-working dude.
Yeah. Do you know what probably the most profound thing I have experienced in this place? Nobody wants anything from you.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
All they want to do is give you love.
Yeah.
Like from Ireland, we can come sometimes like, oh, how much do I need to pay? What do I need to do? And receiving so much, you're like, I can't believe I'm getting all this for free. Like, just love. Like, to be allowed into the temple, to be minded by Jamie and the others. And it's so loving around here. Everyone appears to be so selfless. It's incredible, right?
It is. It is. I think, when I think about all the people who live here, there's a wide range of ways of approaching the world, like political beliefs, sociological beliefs, demographics, background. There's a pretty wide range of ways we operate and view the world. But the one thing that always seemed to be common was a level of sincerity, right? And the way it shows up is that when something is difficult between two people, or some situation comes up where there needs to be like people working their stuff out, like we aren't asking the other person to change so that we can be happy, right?
Beautiful.
So that really struck me, right? Like the idea that when there's a disagreement, there always will be inevitable there'll be disagreements, hard times, whatever. Like, it's just anybody you see somebody every day, it's like their family, and that's kind of, like does the family thing, right?
Yeah, the dynamics.
But not asking other people to change and approaching whatever the problem is from an internal viewpoint. How can I let go? What can I do to make this better? What part of this problem am I causing myself? Like those kinds of questions just take you so far. And again, that's life made visible, right? That's how you actually take that lesson and use it in regular daily life. And it helps what you're talking about, because we're not fucking around like having ego battles between each other. We're not wasting time being pissed off. Where we come in the temple and we can really just, the place has an energy because of this vibration you're talking about, right? That everybody comes in there with a good spirit, with a good energy. And I don't know what it is, but it's so restorative, and it's so beautiful, and it brings energy, and you can just go in there and just sit and relax. So
like Mickey created this, he pumped, like if you read any of his books, The Surrender Experiment or The Untethered Soul, you will hear he speaks about all he done was pumped all this money into the temple. I didn't even give him any, put that in. Now he's obviously had the medical manager and all that history of whatever, and he got a lot of money, and he still turns up here and he does this for free. The leader of this, if you want to call it, I don't know if he wants to be called a leader, but the creator of it, let's say.
he's absolutely the leader. I mean, he in every way, right?
So he leads this, and his ways, I watch him as he goes about, and it's just of service, of kindness, and selfless love. So you all, as volunteers and workers and friends and family, you can't help but not continue that practice, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, Matt, that, like I said, 30 years I've been here, and I've seen people come and go. People lived in the temple, and the time comes and they leave, they go do something else. And it's beautiful. Like, there is an energy that we get from this place, and that it does support us. It's hard in a way. Like there is so much energy that sometimes it can really like stir up your shit, right?
Great.
Yeah, and
Great.
I've seen it tons of times. People who come and they're like, it almost like, it's like shaking the snow globe, right? It's like everything. And so you got to have the energy. So I guess what I'm saying is you got to have the sort of wherewithal to kind of stand in that energy in order to serve or stay or be here that long. And so it isn't for everybody.
It isn't for everybody, but this work isn't for everybody.
Yeah.
Because people would see us here on this camera talking about it's loving and it's kind, but they may have missed you saying a few minutes ago, you've had to work through some shit. You had to work through some personal battles, go into the darkness of not feeling good enough, going to meetings and that takes a pair of balls to face.
It does. I mean, I'll tell you that in my 30 years here, there have been multiple times I thought, I'm fucking done. Like, I can't do this anymore. I need and it goes back to that deep level of sincerity, right? Like at some point, I'll breathe and I'll relax and I'll be fine and I'll just settle in. And that heat of the moment, the fire, is actually what really helps one to grow, right? So, I mean, example that you were here on Saturday night, right? And you heard all the different sharings and such, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things that I've been really enjoying lately is, within the work that I do, that there's always something that needs to be done. There's always some challenge. There's always a problem that need to be taken care of.
The nectar of life.
Exactly. So I was just saying like that I really love the problems that I have now. Like
Yeah, I remember you saying that. I'd loving to know what you meant by that. Give us a
well,
bit.
it was just business stuff. You know, sometimes people don't pay.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes people don't make appointments, and sometimes
Yeah.
just I don't want to go into too much.
No,
But
yeah, no, yeah,
shit doesn't work, right?
yeah. What? Sorry, I probably explain. I probably asked the question wrong. What do you do with though? I don't want to know the problems. What do you do with them? How do you mechanically use that? How does that become the nectar, the juice, or the?
So, so the first thing I do is like the first thing I start with. I just take a breath.
Take
You
a
know,
breath,
just take a
yeah.
breath. I relax. Victor
Viktor Franklin?
Viktor Frankl. That's who said that line that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
About the,
man's
having
man's meaning, man's true meaning. Yeah, Viktor
Thank you.
Frankl.
I'm
Yeah.
glad we remembered that. So what I do is I make the most of that moment. I'll breathe, and I'll just relax, and I'll just wait and see what comes. Usually, you do this enough, and the problem will start to turn into there's something happening here. There's something that I need to learn. There's something that needs to be changed, and there's something like I've done this enough, Matt,
Oh yeah.
that I know there's something beautiful on the other side. You know, you talked about working out. Like you go to the gym,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What the fuck would you do getting under a bar, like getting under, like, you know, I don't know, 175 pounds and like bench pressing it, right? It sucks. You know, it hurts. Your
yeah,
muscles are
yeah,
literally
yeah.
tearing.
But
But
you
it's because you know what's on the other side of it, right?
man will endure any pain if he has a why.
Exactly.
Viktor Frankl said that.
There we go. Viktor
Oh,
Frankl in the house.
this book is sponsored by Viktor. This podcast is sponsored by Viktor Frankl.
But so I've been through enough pain, been through enough of those moments that I've seen how the heart can break open, right? How it can expand under proper processing of difficult situations. So when I see problems now, like I'm not always cheerful about it,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I know that there's something behind it. So I dig in, you know, I just do my very best to relax and let it come to me and just try to do my best.
Yeah, I remember a friend of mine a good few years ago was going through challenging times, and I was having like thoughts of suicide and really going through panic attacks, and he reminded me of the Viktor Frankl book.
Yeah.
He was like, what is the why in this? Like, what's the learning? What's the gift? I'm like, but you fuck off with this. And he was like, no, dig in. What are you missing in this? And I had to turn that difficult moment into what's the learning, what's the gift. And for me, and that one, Tim, was I was getting to understand from my clients, but the people I was working with, what pain truly was, to experience that at a deep, deep level, and to know, to understand. And then it brought me to another level of understanding and awareness and compassion.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's beautiful. But a lot of times people don't want to do that work. And that's why people may listen to this or hear about these kind of work and think, that's just all white and fluffy, just love and kindness, and they're all singing Kumbaya in a fucking field. But it's not that.
Those days are nice.
Those days are nice, but you do have other days where you have to do the work.
Yeah. I mean, there's just, yeah, I love all the different therapies that are out. I love everything that people have done in order to try to create order and beauty and peace and happiness in their life. But at some point, there's a cleansing. Almost always, there's a cleansing that has to happen. And that cleansing is the samskaras, right? It's the traumas, it's the pain, it's the abuse, it's the mistreatment. It's life just has a way of fucking with people, right? It's kind of the purpose, right? It's got beauty, but it's got the other side too. And when those seeds of pain and damage take root in the heart, they don't come out without re-experiencing them. They don't come out without having some of that. What went down with pain will come up with pain. And our ability to sit with the pain as it cleanses and comes out becomes an incredible strength. And you're right, that is the root of compassion. I volunteer in prison, you know, and I just see these guys that are, I don't know how the fuck they do anything. Like talk to them about how their parents treated them and what, you know, it's happened to them in life, and it's heartbreaking, you know. And, you know, I've been around enough to know that, like, we have no one has, like, you see somebody who's incarcerated or anybody in jail, it's like, there's no reason to judge them. You've got no stand to judge anybody because you don't know what they went through. You don't know what their karma is. You don't know what happened to them. And of course, Sometimes, I mean, it's just the fact of life. Sometimes you have to separate people so they don't cause more pain and damage. But taking your own pain and working with it in a deep and productive way opens the door to helping other people who are in pain.
Yeah. I done an interview, excuse me, with a lady called Eileen Flynn. She's part of the travelling community in Ireland. They're a cohort or a demographic in Ireland of travellers, the travelling community. And I done an interview with her early doors in the podcast, and she opened my eyes to compassion for people that are in prison.
Yeah.
She said to me, and I remember clearly, it's not about what they did. Why are they in prison? What was going on for them? What led them to that?
Yeah.
And this lady comes from the traveling community, and they've had a hard life. And she has told me, from before you even open your eyes as a child, you're a second-class citizen.
Yeah.
And she was able to speak to me with great love and kindness for people in prisons and hardship. So when I went through my struggle, it really brought me to a place of, wow, we cannot judge. The only difference between us is our crimes is a degree.
And sometimes not even.
Yeah.
I mean, no.
He who's not sin, cast the first stone.
Yeah, that's it. There, for the grace of God, go I. I mean, I've seen people in prison who've gotten locked up for stealing like the dumbest shit, and then yet I see business people like taking money out of the economic system and providing no value and doing it in really suspicious ways, but it's completely legal. And how does that balance out karmically? I don't care. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. But it's just every society just puts the blame on somebody, And once society sees you can make money off of people in prison, then we're off to the races. Like the whole judicial system gets tweaked, and prisons become like an industry, So. Yeah, anyway.
But this work here, by going and sitting in the temple and doing your work, this gives you the ability to turn in and look at your own shit instead of blaming the world. And then when you go and you sit with these people, you're well in control and understanding of your own shit, and then you can be with people no matter what they do.
To go back to the fuzzy fields and all that, it is about love, and showing up and loving people unconditionally is just incredible. Like, so many people have no source of validation or affirmation in their life, and it takes practice to learn how to find that in your own being. Like, that's not something we're kind of trained to want approval from our parents or from teachers or from coaches or from whomever, right? And the power is having that on board, right? Some connection with something. You could call it God, you could call it the Buddha nature, you could call it, the Atman or the quantum
Brahman.
field, whatever. Whatever it is, that's not me, but there's some source of that in me. Like, because I was born, something came in here, and it stuck with me until I die. That whatever that energy is, that's where you tap into to find that beauty. And most people are never rewarded for that. Not trained how to do that, not shown it's even possible. So they just run through their whole lives trying to find approval, confirmation about their lives from other people. And when you're in prison, it's incredibly difficult because you probably spent your whole life like trying to get money or trying to get something, which led you to do whatever, right? So now you're incarcerated and you're just treated like shit in there. Nobody even listens to you, right? So giving love, giving space for people to talk and express themselves, just taking good energy. So anybody who wants to volunteer in prison, it's really helpful.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing from you, Tim, is that you're going in as the solution. You're going in at what they're trying to attain, which was peace, love, equanimity, and you're rocking into them prisons because that's what you embody. I feel that from you. When I see you in the temple.
I can't say that that's what I do. I just try to go there and be nice.
Yeah, but realistically, why do they, like, from a drug taker, from a drinker, from somebody that done abusive stuff to his body, I was only ever looking for peace.
Yeah.
So now when I go into prisons like you or schools, I go in as the solution. I'm peace now. I'm not going to come in and add to your shit. I'm not going to come in and judge you. I'm not going to come in and give you a hard time. I'm going to show you what love is, and I'm going to be there with you. And that takes some work. But what you just said there, Tim, is it is about the love.
Yeah.
We're light bearers who go in and show people there's light in their dark moments. Would it be okay to talk about some of the work you do in the prisons, what you do?
Absolutely,
Tell
yeah.
us a bit about that. I'm fascinated by that.
So, when I first started going, I was just doing guided meditations, right? I just wanted to teach them how to meditate and or give them an example of meditation, right? And one of the powers of meditation is that in tapping into your own being, you can often find, even if for just a short amount of time, a real center of peace and joy and happiness. And that's really valuable for guys who are incarcerated because there's no place of refuge. It's loud, there's no privacy, there's nothing. So I started doing that, and I would go once a week, and we'd do an hour. And then the guys really responded to it. Just the idea that someone cared enough about them to just smile at them and be kind, and they could just sit and shut their eyes in a safe place, and I just walk them through breathing exercises, releasing, letting go, and it just kind of took off from there. Like I can remember one of the first guys that I worked with had never meditated before, and he started telling me about like going in during the meditation and like passing through this blue haze and going into his being and finding where his heart should be, this vase. And this vase was like this cracked vase, and it was like being healed by God. And he was watching all this happen, and I'm like, damn.
Why can't I get that?
I know, right? And so, and those kind of stories, they just happen all the time, right? So I started doing that, and then I started like going back on Saturdays and doing one-on-ones with him. So just doing we would take two chairs. This prison has a dorm area, right, where they can actually be in a spot. So we can take two chairs and sit outside. And I would just do one-on-ones with them, and I would just do 3 hours of boom, 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 just like one after the other, just coaching them, mentoring them, talking to them, listening to them, and really just giving them space to share, and then adding, some details, trying to help them to learn how to let go.
Right.
Give them some tools. So many people don't even understand that there is a possibility that you can work on yourself and create a place of peace inside yourself. Like that, the idea of that is just like so foreign. And just creating that possibility that hey, you could go and you could do these exercises and you could be happier. 10% happier, 20% happier.
Yeah.
Some
It'll all add up. It'll all add up. It'll all add up.
Yeah.
Little percentage here, there, and everywhere, and it all adds up. It's a cumulative effect.
So months went by, they asked me to teach a class. So I started teaching a class about the Untethered Soul, which is a book written by Mickey that you talked about. And more time went by, and everybody kind of took my class. So I created one with AI, ChatGPT, and I went in and built prompts and designed a course and put quotes around it from all the major religions, so that it was not specifically Christian or Buddhist or Muslim. It was just like a whole range of inputs, but there how to be a peacemaker in prison, and I called it Blessed Are the Peacemakers. So I'm teaching that now. I'm doing one-on-ones, doing guided meditation. So it's
Where that blessed of the peacemaker? Where did you? I know you're saying you used ChatGPT. Where did you pull that from? Is that from your own learnings and understandings? And like what I told you about what I do, is that one of those ones you just pulled from different trees and created a fruit?
yeah. I mean, specifically, what happened was I went into prison one day, and I did a guided meditation, and I was just doing so we had time left. I was just talking about ideas, and we were somehow one of the Christian boys talked about how blessed are the peacemakers, and he started going into that scripture, and it just struck me that when you're in a prison setting, peacemaking is really everybody's been taught to protect themselves, to protect their reputation, to protect their standing, to protect their stuff, but there's not a lot of socialization around how to just get along in those settings. And it's that, and prison is an amazing opportunity to learn how to get along with people. Because if you can get along in that setting, under those conditions, you can be great with your family. You can be great with your kids. You can learn how to resolve situations. You can learn how to let go of yourself. One of the chapters that I'm most excited about, we're in the middle of it right now, is what does it mean to be right? You know how people get hung up on being right? Like, no, I know I'm right. I've got the data right here. I've got the blah, 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 blah.
Who gives a fuck?
And yes, like that old saying about would you rather be happy or would you rather be right? Well, if you want to stay married and you want to be in good relationships, then you be happy.
You have to suck a few eggs.
Well, the truth is everybody thinks they're right, right?
Yeah,
so
yeah,
so
yeah.
so yeah, everybody's sucking an egg at some point,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And we can get so hung up on our own version of the data and our own version of what's right that we can build barriers where there don't need to be any. Just artificial reasons to not get along. And so that really struck me. And to tie that back to the temple,
Yeah.
that's one of the things I really loved about the temple because Mickey quotes Jesus in Christian teachings, the Bible. He quotes Muhammad,
The Bhagavad Gita.
the Bhagavad Gita, all of the Hindu saints, like just everything is fair game, right? There's truth in everything,
love
and
that.
it builds to a common point, and it builds a sense of peace in the world. So now when I go to prison and I just like see all these guys with all their different beliefs, and there are 20 different flavors of Christianity and the multiple flavors of Buddhism and all that, it's like they're all the same. It's all the same.
I always, when I work with people and that do this work and they work in certain demographics, what do you think helps you get in? Get in with people. What's your way in?
I don't. So somebody told me just last week that Tim, you don't ever judge anybody. That you're the most Zen person I know, and you don't judge anybody. So,
So do you feel safe in your company?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, this isn't a max. This is like medium security prison, and I'm in
But
there.
still
element.
hurt people.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
still
absolutely. I
around
mean,
it.
I've worked with some really dangerous people.
Yeah,
But
me too.
So what happens is when I walk up to the gate, like I pause for a minute. Like I told you, like when I would notice my foot would
the
cramp, and I
feet.
was.
Yeah,
So when I walk up to the gate, and I'm about to be let in, I usually stop for just a second, and I'll stand up straight. I'll straighten my spine, let my lungs open up. I'll just take a few deep breaths, and something happens where it's not me anymore. I'm just trying to tap into some energy that you could call, your soul, your spirit,
Shakti.
Shakti, consciousness, God, like the place where God, the kingdom of heaven that's within us, as the Bible says, if that's your flavor. There's just something in there that's better than me, right? That doesn't have to go through all the human filters of me. And I just try to resonate with that. So when I walk in, I'm usually pretty fucking happy, And like when I walk in, I'm saying hi to everybody. Like sometimes here at the temple, like I get into a space so it's really dark, or just heavy. I'm working my ass off, and I'll keep my head down. I won't acknowledge people. I'll just do my work. But when I go in there, like just something comes. And it's like I'm like hi to the guards, and I'm hi to everybody, and hello.
You are the light.
I just
You light up.
it's easy. I don't know what it is. And one of the things that like it kind of blew me away, but I've got a business, right? I do coaching, and so I have a Google reviews, right? And the guy who's in charge of all the rehabilitation programs for the prison wrote a Google review for me, and he talked about how the guards feel safer in the sections that I work in, and that the administration people feel safer, and that it's just better. And like that. Now, is there data? I don't know that he's. But I'm trusting his word for that, and it feels beautiful, and that's really what I'm searching for. That's what I'm trying to do. Is just bring some love in.
I never met you before, and I was gravitated towards you. I seen you practice, and I seen you meditate, and I seen the energy that was being emitted from you, and I was pulled to that. So I get what they're saying. You have an energy about you. This place has an energy. It wasn't about Mickey Singer. I was like, he looks like an interesting dude. Then I end up getting talking about you to someone. I was like, yeah, that's the dude over in the corner. I've seen him rocking around and singing and closing his eyes. And I'm going, I want to fucking have a chat with him.
That's me.
Yeah. What's the work you do when you talk about the other book that you're creating, the Untethered? Can you tell us about the Untethered Soul piece? Tell us about that work.
So when I decided to do coaching professionally a couple years ago, I got hired by a mastermind group. We've got this, I don't know if you have this in Ireland, you probably do, but there's groups of businessmen, groups of people who have a shared interest, and they meet via Zoom. I think it probably started during COVID, and they just support each other. And sometimes they'll hire a teacher, and somebody who came to the temple saw me and asked me to create a course, right? Just to talk, do like a reading group of the Untethered Soul for this mastermind group.
Right.
So after doing that a number of times, of teaching this course with this group and another group and a few other groups, and then teaching it in prison, I've created a workbook, and it's in its final stages now. I'm going to sell it on Amazon.
Can't wait to get it.
And here's what I've done, okay? Later in my career, after being a photojournalist, I went to work for a company called National Center for Construction Education and Research, NCCER, and they're the world's leading producer of education and certification and training for the construction industry. And I was the department head for product development. I was the guy who was in charge of these 70 different craft areas and all these different certifications. And so in that job, I learned how to do instructional design, right? So I took, as I was reading The Untethered Soul and teaching The Untethered Soul, like it's all a narrative, right? And my job at this company was to take bodies of knowledge by craftsmen and turn it into specific tasks that had learning objectives and teaching, so that you could become a plumber or a welder or operate a crane in a busy city, like all these really technical things. So essentially what I did was I created learning objectives from The Untethered Soul and just created very practical, specific points that can be used alongside a reading of The Untethered Soul. So all 19 chapters, I've got, learning objectives and points, very specific, right? And then combine.
I'm excited about this.
Yeah, I am too. It does really well, and I use it as a basis for my coaching, and the clients really love having that kind of structure, because it's like, how it is when you do, like, you learn software and you learn a little bit over here and you learn a little bit over here.
Yeah.
I start from the beginning and just work through the whole Untethered Soul, and it's really a beautiful handbook for how to kind of gain basic skills in spirituality, if you will. And that's what really drew me to The Untethered Soul, was it's so practical. So I started learning it, as I told you, and I was developing my career and trying to get better. But alongside that, I developed some practices. So when I feel my foot cramp, that triggers a response. And so now that's turned into, whenever I feel my mind start to spin or I get angry, it triggers a response. So I've used the workbook to take all the tricks and things that I've used to incorporate those teachings into my life, and I put them in there. So there's journaling, and there's techniques, and different ways of meditating and breathing, and there's all these different ways to, alongside the consciousness and the awareness, to encourage that. So that's what I've done. That's this project.
Wow. Sounds fascinating. And I recommend The Untethered Soul to clients when I work with them. Read this book. It's game changer, isn't it?
It really is. Like that's the thing I loved about Mickey. I can remember going to temple on Monday nights or Thursday nights, and going to work the following day, and some situation would pop up, and it was like exactly the words that Mickey said were happening in this moment, and either in my head or whoever I was working with, and that constant attention to the energy and constant awareness, being mindful, essentially. Mindful is kind of an overused word these days, but
awareness.
Yeah, that awareness of what's going on in my mind helped me to relax, right? Just so these techniques, they really work, and that's what this workbook is about, is like giving you a framework to combine with the beautiful text of The Untethered Soul that creates kind of like a support system, if you will.
What I'm listening to you and I'm hearing is that you work with lots of demographics, like you're saying you work in the kind of the corporate world, and you obviously do the prisons. How do you integrate that work of Mickey Singer, The Untethered Soul, with people that wouldn't be, say, interested? We call it spirituality or that kind of...
I work with people who have are offended by the word God.
Yeah.
Right?
How do you bridge that gap? What you're in with them? How do you get them into the untethered soul or the Mickey kind of work?
Well, the thing is, when you really start digging into the untethered soul, it's incredibly practical,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
So the word God isn't really used almost till the 19th chapter, to the last chapter. Now, there is a sense that there's other things happening, right? But that's pretty easily, I mean, everybody, like, so my car's parked outside, right? Could a tornado come through and just and like drop a branch on my car and like what? Yeah, I had nothing to do with that. So, something's happening out there in the world that we have no power over, no control over, and we get to deal with it, you know? So whether it's a branch falling in your car, winning the lottery, falling in love because you stood in the right line at the grocery store, like all this stuff is happening. And life is God made visible. But you don't have to call it that. You know, you don't have to say that's God. It's just the shit that happened to me. So all those techniques are just really practical ways of working with yourself, because at the end of the day, all you can be responsible for is your own behavior. And that's what the untethered soul is about. Again, take control of your own self first, like your own mental process, your own discipline, if you can, you know, your own way of working with things. Find support as you need it. But just the focus and the desire to work inside first. And that book is filled with that. So I do this. I have a client who hooked me up with his daughter, and his daughter is, you know, in her 20s, and has a different like sexual, you know, way of looking at the world, but we get along great, you know, because it just doesn't have to matter, right? If you really open your heart towards people, they feel that, right? If you really care and you listen, people care. People pick up on that, and that matters more than anything else.
Communication is 87% nonverbal. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you don't have to say an awful lot. I just feel in your company. This is loving energy. People feel it. Like, you know, without the words, without the language, you can. It's palatable, right?
It is. You know, I've seen like in my life, I trained a dog for like a really formal dog training, right? And what I learned was that like you have to really be authentic. Like you can't just fake it with a dog or an animal or anybody. It's like if you're not going to hurt them and you really are concerned about their well-being, that comes through. That vibration is just evident. And I really try hard to like, I think that I try hard to be authentic, and I try hard to be sincere, and like I fuck up, but you know, I try to come back. I've made tons of mistakes, you know. Oh my God, I've done horrible things, right? But
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, I do try to come back, and I think that's the beauty of it, is that nobody's stuck where they are.
You don't have to be.
No.
Yeah. Something that you said there, I think, was really interesting and it's beneficial to hear. If you are having, say, a challenge or a difficulty with something, you've gone to the temple and either Mickey has spoke about it or it just showed up. When you do this kind of work and you slow down and you look for the signs, if you ask for help or you look for guidance, you'll find it. And I noticed that when I was here, I was having a challenge of the day because some stuff was working through for me. And I went to the temple and Mickey spoke about something.
Yeah.
And I was after connecting with my dad because my dad passed in January. I was like, man, send me some signs. Let's talk to me. I need your little support here. And Mickey just started talking about, you know, he went through the different systems in the body. He started off with the digestive, the respiratory, basically self-care, minding yourself, the body, the emotional, the physical, the mind. And I was thinking, fuck's sake, that's exactly what I needed to hear today. Be kind, mind yourself, be respectful, R-E-S-P-C-T, is
Yeah,
the saying?
yeah, that's right. He said that.
Yeah. And there was the sign, right?
Yeah, that's beautiful. That
Isn't it?
happens. That's like one of the things that amazes me most is that this guy's been talking for 50 years, 3 times a week at the temple. Like you add that up, it's like thousands and thousands of talks, right? And he doesn't prepare. He doesn't do anything. He just sits down, and I don't know what word to put around that, but it just flows out of him. And in that openness and connection with the people in the room, that kind of stuff happens, right? That sense of there's some custom word coming directly for you.
Like, even taking away the message that I needed to hear, to watch a human being go at it like that, I'm like, I was in awe
Yeah.
of a man, of a being, to be able to, he just switches on, speaks, and it's like a story, and it all makes sense, and it all adds up, and it all meets each other, and it dovetails. You're like, wow. As an educator, somebody that works with people, I'm like, I just almost will just go home, mic drop.
Yeah. Well, he's got practice, you know. I
Yeah.
think like there's definitely hours of practice and reps that are showing up there.
It's brilliant, as
Yeah.
you've been an educator as well. Like, outside of our own work, it's incredible to watch, isn't it? That kind of stuff.
Oh, it is. And like the more that I've done this work and coached and you know taught and helped, like I get more and more impressed with it. Like I just like, oh shit, how does he do that? You know, like just that, and he brings the fire, like you know,
Yeah.
every day. It's pretty amazing.
Like 50 years, and to do them 3 times a week is incredible, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. It is.
What have you got in the pipeline in regards to work, or if people want to work with you? What's going on for you?
Well, I'm at timodavis.com.
Yeah.
Timothy Ordway Davis is my name, but it's just timodavis.com. We can do coaching, you can do courses for people.
When is the book out?
April is my planned release date. Do you know Frank O'Connor? He's an Irishman, and he has a large Facebook group based on the Untethered Soul.
Right.
And I just started working with him. We're going to actually team up on doing a donation-based class on the Untethered Soul every week starting in April.
Brilliant. I'll
So
look up to
if
that.
you go on Facebook, look for Frank O'Connor and his group, and you can find.
Where's he
either
from?
He's in North Carolina now, but he was in
Oh,
Ireland.
okay, he was.
Right.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, but he looks like a stereotypical Irish priest. He's really like handsome and like got that, you know, but he's beautiful, soft, and he's a really sweet soul.
And you're going to be teaching the Untethered Soul.
We're going to do it together.
Wow.
Yeah, so we're going to make my workbook available for people. It'll be on Amazon. I'm not sure how much I'm going to charge yet, but I'm still figuring that out. And then you can go on Amazon or go on Facebook, and it's a donation-based class for like an hour every, probably an hour every Tuesday, starting in April of 2024. I'm assuming this will be online for a while.
Yeah, wow.
So that's coming along. I've got classes. Like I can do. I'm actually doing a class now too for a company that wants to sort of bring their management team together. So I do courses on the Untethered Soul that can be done in 5 to 6 to 7 weeks, depending upon how long, using the workbook, and it turns into a really beautiful time. Like people just like, it's a really awesome space to give people to talk about what's going on in their lives, and to do that in a with your work setting. It seems like it wouldn't be comfortable, but it turns out that it is, and people really relax with it and do well with it.
And here's the thing. Everywhere you go, you're there.
Yeah.
You know, like, I mean, you go into the prisons or in these companies, whatever you seem to touch seems to turn to magic, and that's because your energy. And I'm not blowing smoke.
Oh,
I'm not
stop
trying to impress you, but I was only talking to a friend of mine, Ken, that I'm staying here. When you hear people and they talk about their problems, I say, yeah, but every time there's a problem, you're there. That might tell me that you might have something to do with it. With you, with your success and your energy, it's every time you go there, it's happening. I'm thinking that must have something to do with you.
Maybe I'm just lucky.
Mickey talks about that in the laws of the universe. There's no luck. There's no chance at all.
Well, you know, I want to share something. Like, so when I was a little kid in Vermont, so I was born in 1960, right? So this would be like probably 69, 68. And I'm not a sophisticated kid. I hadn't heard anything. And I had this little surgery, and I had a near-death experience, like as a kid.
An NDE.
Yes. And so I can remember, like, coming up out of my body and looking down at them operating on my, 9-year-old self, whatever.
Right.
And then going down this tunnel of light, right? And getting to the end, and there was this what appeared to be like a Christ-like figure. I didn't see a face, but just in that space of going down and then being sent back, like it was a profound peace that I felt in that moment, right? And that like I was never, knock on wood, sort of scared of dying after that. Like I went through normal kid stuff where I like, just trying to get girlfriend and trying to get my, like all that stuff happened and I had to work through it. But there was like a sense of really deep peace that came after that.
How old were you? Nine.
Not
Nine.
really young, yeah.
Wow. And could you make head or tail of what was going
I had
on?
no
Did you
clue.
speak to anybody about
No,
it?
I didn't talk to anybody about it. I don't even, it just didn't seem like, it just seemed like so normal, like just like a thing that happened, but I didn't know how to talk about it and no one, like I'd never heard of it before.
And back in the 60s/70s, you probably would have been described as mad or mental.
It's possible, yeah.
Like,
Maybe
I
I
think
just kept it to myself.
it's a little bit more acceptable these days, but
Yeah.
back then probably were like, wow.
Yeah.
So do you think that had an impact on you having this movement into the spiritual world, or you transitioned, or has it
You
played a
know what
part in it?
so what it did was it showed me that there's more going on than what's right in front of you.
Right.
I think that's what it was. Like it helped me. So my high school yearbook quote is, I don't just believe in miracles, I rely on them.
Did you?
Yeah, that's what I put in my high school yearbook. So I think that's what it was. And I think that's the thing that I found most powerful about this whole path, right? Because there's no way I should have found this place. There's no way I should have found this amazing wife that I have, that I'm her husband, and I get to live with her. And it's just that, like, this openness leads to miracles, and that there's always a reason to keep going, right? Like I've just seen so many people get into a really, including myself. I've pondered suicide. I've never been like right there, but I've thought about how much more convenient it would be if I wasn't alive, right? Just like
gotcha.
that kind of stuff, right? And just keep going. I don't know what it is, but just keep going and asking with an open heart for help, whether, wherever you feel safe and secure, asking for help, and it will come. It's just I think that's what got me, and that's the common thread that brought me to the temple and helped me to be okay no matter what happened.
And that's what Mickey talked about yesterday. This is hard, but I'll be okay. I can handle this.
Yeah,
I can handle this. The shit is gonna come at you. It's gonna be a little bit painful. It's gonna be like pissing kidney stones some days, but I can handle this.
yeah. And at some point, it goes beyond just a struggle to actually feeling like a sport. You get to a point where you go through enough days and it goes well, and you think, I can handle this, and it can turn, and life can turn into just like this amazingly beautiful adventure if you're willing to just work through that releasing of the pain, cleansing of the heart, breathing and relaxing, not blaming other people. There's a way to get there that everybody can feel this incredible sense of energy. And like the thing that really tied it together for me was when I started going to prison and like actually putting some energy back into the system, right? And I was scared shitless at first. Like I was just, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to, but somehow, you just have the balls to try, and your effort will be honored, and love and light will come back to you.
Yeah, you, Mickey, the people around here, if you do it with a certain loving energy, the byproduct will be that. And if you do it with that type of energy, well, you know what you'll get with that.
Yeah.
And it's about showing up, and that's what I love about this, and the people embody it. 2 questions before we wrap up. I'm just mindful of your time. Could you sum up what this place is like for someone that's not been here, or do you've ever wanted to come here? And then I have a second, last question.
Let me go that one first so I don't forget. So this place it's an ashram, right? So if you look up the word ashram, ASHRAM, they are historically a Hindu or Indian community based around a spiritual teacher. And a community forms around the teacher, and there's a sense of family, of community, of having a group of people that are all engaged with a common desire to grow. And often there's a spiritual or a God kind of a component to that. It can be variety in different ways. But what Temple of the Universe is an ashram in the United States, right? And so we have jobs and we work, but we serve each other. but Mickey teaches, and we come and listen and get that. And we all who've been here for a number of years bring a certain energy to the room, and the room itself seems to have an energy, and Mickey has an energy, and pretty soon it's like a fucking roaring fire. You know, you were there on Sunday, and it really, like, I see people going through all kinds of Shakti experiences and going through stuff. So it's really powerful from that standpoint. So it's a place where people have gathered to work on themselves, to find truth, and to be sincere about their service and getting happier.
Yeah, and that's a great point you made at the end, because you may think or believe ashrams and churches and the serious, super serious. Yeah, you come here and do some work, but it's a lot of fun. People are good crack. Like even Mickey himself, when he talks, I'm like, this is like panto. I'm like, this is a pantomime. This is fucking hilarious. But he's shooting bullets, like they're just.
Yes,
But
he
he
is.
does it in a fun way, and it's like, yeah, this is hard, but I fucking like this guy.
Yeah.
He's speaking truth, but I'm interested.
Well,
And even the people around, like Michael and yourself and Jamie, there's a bit of crack as well, you know. And
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we're like,
It's a cool place.
you know, I have, I love sports, right? I played basketball all my life, and I played soccer and play golf now. And that model of just trying and like not expecting success, but just the beauty of the sport is the game. It's the fun. It's the juice. It's just playing, right?
Leela.
Yes, that's the Leela. And
Dance with the cosmos.
exactly. And it's the same thing you get with creating art, with creating poetry. I'm a photographer. Like, and there's so much creative energy from this, because it's less about ego and more about just that primal generative force that we all have, and letting that come out, and just peeling back all the conditioning and the barriers and the traumas that are covering up that beautiful primal energy to earth, that urge to create, right? And just letting it loose and riding on it and living with it. It's beautiful. So that's what this place does.
Yes. Oh,
It's a little building in the woods. It's overcrowded and it's really uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
don't just start coming, because it's hard to get in. It's hard. It's really rough.
It's a special place.
But
It's
it is a special place.
Last question. What's the one thing you would like people to take away after they listen to this interview? It's a question I like to ask at the end of all interviews.
So it's easy. Like, it's that Viktor Frankl moment. So when you start to feel pain and you start to feel something's going on inside, you're not being nice to yourself, your inner roommate is being abusive, you've done something fucked up, it doesn't matter. Give yourself a break. Just stop, stand up straight, feel your spine open, let your shoulders go back, let your chest come up. Take a few deep breaths from your nose and breathe it out of your mouth at a nice regulated pace. And just give yourself a break. Just love yourself. Love yourself so deeply, because you really deserve it. Nobody deserves hatred. Nobody deserves pain. Love yourself. Give yourself a break. Breathe. Relax. You don't have to get rid of the damage that's been done to you. You breathe and relax and let life, God, the universal power, consciousness, the infinite void, the quantum field, it'll lift all that pain out of you if you can just relax and let it go. That's it.
Fuck it. That's a mic drop. You just went Mickey Singer on it.
My pleasure.
Oh man, that was incredible, Tim. My heart is bursting with love. Thanks so much.
Oh, my pleasure.
I appreciate you. You just embody this place. You know, you're a walking, living, talking version of what this place encompasses, and I'm delighted and I'm honoured to be here. Guys, there you go. All interviews are brought to you by podcastdublin.ie. I'm not there at the moment, obviously I'm not in the studio, but if you would like to use their studio, that's available. They also do training around podcasting. If you have also created your own podcast and need help around editing and production work, they will help you. My pal Niall Riley from Rooney Media Graphics, my main man, my main sponsor. The girls from Shannon's Hope Line, been a charity from the get-go. please, please, please share this with family and friends. I really appreciate it. This message is important. Our message is important. Tim's and like all the other 130 plus interviews, 33 interviews I've done, stories that have the power to inspire. This inspires people to make changes, bring more love in your life, bring more creativity to help you. That's what this is, and it also serves of helping me. So it's a two-way street, this charity. As always, mind your little self. Have a fantastic day. And you up the flats all the way from Gainesville. What's the sports team that you...
The Gators, baby.
The Gators, baby.
Yeah,
Up the
yeah.
Gators.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right.
I seen an alligator the other day. We were out in the Buddha Centre.
Yeah.
And it just made my day. There was like a prehistoric animal sitting at the edge of the pool.
They're badass little things, aren't they?
It was only about 4 foot. And I was like, just turtles and all walking across the road.
Yeah.
This is incredible. We seen an armadillo yesterday as well.
Yeah, we got it here. Deer, all that stuff.
Ah, this is incredible. Right, get out of here. Go mind your little self. You up the flats. Take care, boy.
Go have a good day. Thanks, brother.
Fuck! Oh, man.